Good evening, welcome to Wednesday's Look North. Our top story tonight. Use your post office or lose it forever. A stark warning from a Sheffield postmaster.
I don't think post office has got a good future. I think eventually we will be gone from the high street.
So what can we do to stop that happening? Also tonight, how charity efforts that started here at home are providing food and support for those in need in the disaster zone in Syria and Turkey. Plus, will Huddersfield Town's big new signing join them for tonight's clash against Stoke City? And the magic of Minecraft. We meet the youngsters making imaginary worlds during half-term.
Some rain to come later tonight, some gales to come on Friday. It's looking very unsettled in the next 2 or 3 days. Join me for the detailed forecast.
Hello, thank you for watching. First tonight, use it or lose it. That's the stark message from a community postmaster who says her business and many others are at risk. Dawn Goodinson's been running a sub-postmaster at Upperthorpe in Sheffield for 13 years, but she says a perfect storm of strikes, technology problems and customers changing how they send packages is causing a catastrophic fall in business that could mean she and other post offices might be forced to close. Heidi Thompson takes up the story.
Good morning, Pat. How are you today?
I'm all right, Dawn. Are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
First customer of the day at Upperthorpe Post Office is a regular. Pat likes to check her account in person.
I don't do online banking or like that because I'm not clever enough, you know what I mean? So I'll tell you the truth, that's it.
Why do you choose to pay your bills here rather than online?
You know what, I think this place is quite nice because my friend, she works here and I've known her since primary school and it's nice to see a familiar face.
Postmaster Dawn Goodinson enjoys looking after customers, but numbers are dwindling. She gets paid per transaction, profits are down.
So I'm worried about whether I'm going to be able to pay the wages next month. We've talked about cutting staffing hours, which I don't really want to do, but may have to do just to survive. Morning.
Good morning.
She's missing income from lucrative international parcels. A cyber attack on Royal Mail means currently postage for overseas packages can only be paid for online. Postal habits are changing too. More and more people are sending items using an app. So a couple of years ago, Royal Mail introduced Parcel Collect, which means you don't necessarily need stamps anymore and you don't need a post box. Instead, you go online, you select the correct postage and a collection time, and your parcel or card will be picked up from home. It cuts out the post office.
I might have to walk away if it carries on. I don't want to walk away. I don't even know if I have a business to sell while ever Royal Mail are doing this to us.
Royal Mail has apologised for the technical issue. In response to online competition, it says the post office continues to be an important partner. Our customers can choose a range of services, including printing labels at a post office, if that's their preferred option. Dawn is fighting back, offering a local pickup service to business customers, printing postage labels for convenience, but she's pessimistic about the years ahead. And how do you see the future looking, Dawn?
Bleak. Very bleak. I don't think post office has got a good future. I think eventually we will be gone from the high street.
Which, for regular customers like Pat, would be devastating.
The loss without the post office on here, definitely. And especially with the people that work back at Post Office Counter because they're so good. They'll help you in any way they can.
Conversations and advice may be appreciated, but they're not profitable. Dawn needs more customers. The message, as ever, is use it or lose it. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Well, Callum Greenhow is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Federation of Sub-Postmasters. Earlier I asked him how common are the problems that Dawn is facing.
Very common, I would say. More and more of my colleagues around the country are coming to me saying that they want to give up, they want to walk away from the post office. They're very committed to their communities, and that is what's causing them a great anxiety on that basis. The reality is that I and my colleagues are self-employed individuals. I've owned my post office for nearly 28 years this year. We're in this business to provide for our families, pay our bills. and more we are seeing our products and services taken away from us, and our income not matching the increase of inflation, and it's making it more and more difficult to actually run a viable post office now.
Obviously, we're aware, aren't we, of the impact on rural post offices. We know about a number of those closing, but this one that Dawn runs is a city suburb, essentially. So are we seeing the demise of community post offices within towns and cities?
It's all over. That's the thing. You can't really just turn around and sort of say that big city centres are actually going to be fine, or city suburbs are going to be fine, or rural. It's impacting us. It's impacting us all. It's right across the board. And what we're actually needing is customers to recognise that actually, rather than going online and giving the corporate more money, consider actually your local post office. The phrase that we're using is support to sustain us. Your corner shop within your suburb is just as important as your city centre, just as important as your rural village. So please, rather than going online and downloading your label, come into the post office, get the service that you deserve, the service you require, and that will actually ensure that our businesses remain viable.
OK, Callum, thanks for your time today. Much appreciated.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Next tonight, a Yorkshire charity says it's overwhelmed with gratitude at the response from local communities who want to help to get aid to the earthquake disaster zones in Turkey and Syria. Dewsbury-based World Care Organisation has 5 drop-off points in West Yorkshire, with goods being sorted and organised ahead of being taken to the areas most in need next week. Abijola takes up the story.
The scenes of devastation in the aftermath of the earthquake have spurred volunteers in Dewsbury into action.
Good morning.
The Office of World Care Foundation in Dewsbury has become a hub for collecting donations and organising shipments of aid. A local firm has lent them a warehouse which is now housing donated goods from the local community and from across Yorkshire.
Towels, warm items of clothing. Then we've got things that we can't use, clothing that people passionately want to donate but unfortunately aren't usable.
Food with a long shelf life, hygiene or sanitary products, sleeping bags and blankets are still welcome, but they're keen now for people to give cash instead of clothing.
It means that we're in a position to be dynamic and adaptable to whatever the need is at the time, and we can purchase. We've got a team on the ground that can make the purchases and get it to the appropriate place as soon as possible.
Team members on the ground in Turkey are putting funds to good use. They've set up a soup kitchen for earthquake survivors.
We have, in response to the, to the hundreds of families who've been displaced or had been made homeless, we've now set up a kitchen here for the families from Antakya.
Thanks again, ladies, for your donations.
OK, no, that's absolutely fine.
While we were filming, more goods arrived, tents, nappies and winter clothing brought by volunteers from a Keighley charity.
And we just wanted to help. We wanted to try and donate as much as we could. We also helped with the Ukraine war and everything that was happening over there. We sent lots of lorries out and worked with the Good Shepherd people as well. So we just wanted to find somewhere local. It's been difficult to find anywhere that would actually take them.
Everyone here today is giving their time for free, sorting the collected items ready for shipping.
When the earthquake happened, there was loads of videos that I watched, and it's been quite sad and upsetting, and I wanted to help.
It's very heart-touching. A lot of people have been affected. It's in our nature to help any human that's affected.
We might not physically be able to be there to help them, but just doing this, it just satisfies myself and just knowing that we're helping them.
These goods will be on their way to Turkey soon. Volunteers hoping their efforts bring some comfort to those who need it most. Abby Jayola, BBC Look North, Dewsbury.
Thanks, Abby. You're watching Wednesday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme. We meet the young farmers trying to help and support others in the industry suffering from mental health problems. OK, let's get some news in brief now. Police are investigating the murder of a man who was found with serious injuries in the Hare Hills area of Leeds early today. The 27-year-old died in hospital after being found just after 3 a.m. on Compton Road. Police are appealing for possible witnesses to get in touch. A woman from Leeds who relies on life-saving blood transfusions is urging more people to become donors. Her call comes as the NHS revealed around 9,000 people in Yorkshire and the Humber who signed up to give blood last year still haven't made their first donation. Salome Melian has sickle cell disease and needs transfusions every 4 weeks. She says there are particular shortages in donations from black people.
That affects people like me who depend on the blood to live because people are not donating. Of course, some Caucasians have that subtype, but it's not common. We really need the blood from the black people so that the doctors can match our blood with theirs.
There's growing pressure for the government to entirely rebuild Keighley's Hospital. Campaigners have argued for years that the existing Airedale building should be replaced rather than renovated. Local Conservative MP Robbie Moore says he's stepping up efforts, and Labour's candidate for the next election has also recently met hospital bosses. Now, the Canal and River Trust launched its first ever toddler water safety campaign at Granary Wharf in Leeds today.
But it's really important that we all know how to stay safe near water.
The campaign is designed to help parents and carers feel more confident about spending time near water with young children. The 90-second film is narrated by children's television presenter Maddie Moat and shows toddlers how to stay away from the edge. A West Yorkshire man who stole 200,000 Cadbury cream eggs has pleaded guilty to criminal damage and theft. Joey Poole from Tingley was stopped by police on the M42 in a stolen lorry at the weekend. Police say he had used a metal grinder to get through the gates of an industrial unit to steal the eggs and other varieties of chocolate. He'll appear before Shrewsbury Crown Court next month. Now, next tonight, campaigns have been launched this week to support farmers across our region after 94% under the age of 40 expressed concerns about poor mental health. It's an issue that's of real concern in rural areas like North Yorkshire. A podcast hosted by two women from the county is giving farmers a new kind of support with around 2 million farmers tuning in. Phil Connell has been to meet them.
Hello.
To the outside world, it looks like the perfect life. But for many farmers, recent events have brought unprecedented levels of anxiety and stress.
Talking about the important subject of mental health.
Here in North Yorkshire, Becca, who's a farmer, and Lizzie, a farming journalist, host a weekly podcast called Boots and Heels. It's aimed at farmers under 40, an age group where mental health problems are growing fast.
A good thing is that actually people are sharing these stories. So yes, they may be hard to hear, but I'd rather people talk about them, share them, and we can get through it together. The underlying themes that always come through is mental health and the importance of supporting one another.
According to a new report published this week, a staggering 94% of farmers under 40 admit to now having poor mental health. Uncertainty over Brexit, COVID and rising costs have all been blamed.
There's days when the weather gets in the way, policy gets in the way. Sometimes you might just have a bad day in the lambing shed, and it's really, really tricky sometimes if you're not seeing anyone and you're not getting away from the farm to bring yourself back up again.
This week, to support struggling farmers, an awareness campaign has been launched by the Farm Safety Foundation. It'll bring together more than 300 farming organisations, providing advice and support for those that work on farms like this and those that work behind the scenes as well.
If we can help one person, we've done something good. And I mean, as I said before, we've reached over 2 million people, and that is incredible. So if we've helped one of them, we've succeeded.
Absolutely.
Through their podcast, Becca and Lizzie say they're supporting farmers in a different kind of way. The power of conversation and effective medicine in these uncertain times. Phil Connell, BBC Look North, North Yorkshire.
Now, a year ago today, Look North reported on the concerns of Yorkshire's Ukrainian communities as 130,000 Russian troops gathered on the border. There were hopes that an invasion could be avoided. There were worries for the future if there was a war. Well, we all know the invasion did happen and the war continues. Well, today I caught up with Paul Ivaniski once again at Doncaster's Ukrainian club, and he gave me his thoughts on the last 12 months.
I don't think we expected the resistance that the Ukrainian people and the troops put up. I don't think they did at the time, but the belief grew and grew. So a bit of disbelief that we are where we are, but incredibly proud.
Paul, we spoke this time last year before the invasion. You said Russia wouldn't find this easy, and so that's been proven, hasn't it?
It is, because any divisions that are talked about are manufactured by the Russians themselves. The Ukraine is a massively united nation. Any unrest is fomented by them, by the Russians. So, yeah, it's not going to be easy going forward. It won't be easy on either side.
Are you managing to keep in touch with friends and family back in Ukraine?
Oh, yes, yes. We're, like everyone else in the world, we're on a chat group with my cousins and my aunt. Well, not my aunties so much, they're getting a bit old for that. But seeing my cousins and their children, we're all on Viber or WhatsApp. So we get a pretty weekly update on how things are going, yeah. I mean, some of it is business as usual, life goes on. But the next minute there can be an air raid siren and the kids are heading for the shelter from school, you know, to the air raid shelter. But they're surprisingly stoic, positive, but you don't have to scratch the surface much to get to the emotion.
When you see images and newsreel footage of what's going on in Ukraine, how does that make you feel?
Well, there's always the classic feeling of impotence that you're never doing enough or you can't do enough. And just very sad for a positive people who voted to be a sovereign state and away from the Soviet Union, being victimised and illegally invaded.
We know many people have come from Ukraine and settled here in Yorkshire. Generally speaking, what sort of a welcome have they received?
I think I don't think they could have got a better reception anywhere in the country, and that's the feedback that we're getting from them.
This seems to have entered a phase of attrition, essentially. Are you optimistic, pessimistic that there can be any resolution to where we are from this kind of stalemate?
Well, you pray and you hope for victory and peace. What worries me a bit is I think we've passed the point of compromise now because of what's been done has been so extreme, and it carries on being extreme, that it's got to be a pretty complete restoration of the borders of Ukraine and reparations, and also justice for the crimes that have been committed. So that's going to take time, and Putin is not going to want to give up easily and be victim to that sort of humiliation. And it's just what he's prepared to do to avoid that worries me.
Paul Ivaniski talking to me earlier today. OK, let's turn to sport now. And we're talking about football tonight. Huddersfield Town take on Stoke City with newly appointed manager Neil Warnock. Well, will he make it to the game, first of all? Paul Ogden is there to commentate on the match for BBC Radio Leeds. And he sent us this report from the Britannia Stadium.
Just under an hour to go until kick-off tonight between Stoke City and Huddersfield Town, but anybody who arrives here Neil Warnock spotting is going to be disappointed, I'm afraid, because even he, with his magic powers, can't be here in time to see his new players in action. Ronnie Jepson, his assistant coach in waiting, will be here to observe what they've got in terms of playing strength, but Neil Warnock won't actually meet his new squad and take charge of the players properly until tomorrow at the training ground, and that's when the hard work starts. Neil Warnock, with Ronnie Jepson alongside him, will have 15 matches from Saturday onwards to save the Terriers from relegation, and if we get the look we deserve, we'll hear from Neil Warnock on BBC Look North tomorrow night at about this time.
Yeah, that will be really interesting, Oggy, there at the Britannia Stadium. Thank you very much. And of course, if you want to keep across that game, tune in to BBC Radio Leeds. If you want to listen to commentary on Sheffield United's game against Middlesbrough, then tune in to BBC Radio Sheffield. Now, children and computer game fans in North Yorkshire got a real half-term treat today. A Minecraft block party was held inside an ancient historical venue, and Hannah Gray went along to meet families taking part in the shaping of a 3D map of their local town.
Recognise this? The the town's most famous landmark in a Minecraft world. Yes, this is Selby Abbey, where today local children have been invited to come and help design the Minecraft map for the local area.
My 6-year-old absolutely loves Minecraft, and I saw that there was this free event on today, and why not come down somewhere local as well?
I just really like building, flying, going into woods.
We're going to go to the top of the Abbey now, aren't we?
People should play it because it's fun and like you could do loads of things on it that you can't really do in real life. Well, when you're in the Abbey, all you can do is just walk around and look at it, which is really nice. But then on there, you could build new things inside the Abbey. You can build stuff and you can have jobs, but in here you're just a child and you can't.
It's brilliant to see lots of people in the Abbey at any time, and what's really nice is that they're sort of exploring their town in Minecraft in a different way. So it's a mixture of getting people into the Abbey that might not have been here before, but also encouraging them to think about their town in a different way, in the way that you could build it and imagine it in a computer game.
But should a holy venue like this be promoting gaming?
I think that Minecraft especially is quite a safe space, and there's lots of parental settings within the game to make it safe. When we play and we have fun and we explore and we're creative, you learn so much without kind of realising that you're learning.
And for those who prefer building structures with real blocks, you could do that here too, as well as good old-fashioned colouring. Half-term fun in an amazing historical building.
Being here, you just can't help but wonder, what would the original creators of this abbey make of this? More than 200 children here designing and creating their own buildings in a virtual world on laptops.
And perhaps some of them could go on to build the famous landmarks of the future. Hannah Gray, BBC Look North, Selby.
I'm sure some of them will do that, in fact. Now, we know Valentine's Day was yesterday, don't we? Those of us who remembered. But can you have romance every day? Well, Alan and Carol Walker can. The couple first met outside a dance hall in 1953. And as you're about to see, they've been doing it ever since.
Well, it goes like this, the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift.
From Batley have been married for 67 years. They provided this impromptu dance for busker Alice Briggs when she was performing in Leeds at the weekend. Alice posted it on Facebook and has received an overwhelming response to their performance. Many congratulations to them as well. Now, a point of order, before we go any further, Mr. Hudson. You stood here 24 hours ago and said the fog yesterday, maybe even thicker in the Vale of York today. It was crystal clear.
Well, there was some fog first thing because RAF Leeming was reporting 100 metres visibilities.
I think
actually, if you watch Breakfast News, Claire Frisbee was banging on about it as well. But it has been.
It was minimal.
It was minimal, but it's been beautiful across most parts this morning. Let me show you a few pictures. I thought this was brilliant. This was a carpet of snowdrops there in North Allerton that Susie sent in. This was Upper Wharfdale near Bolton Abbey. If you know that part of the world, it's stunning. And this was the sunset yesterday evening. Still a little bit of that mist and fog there in the Aire Valley, but a beautiful picture nonetheless. Keep your pictures coming in on Twitter, Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. Now, it is going to be quite unsettled over the next couple of days. Heads up for Friday when we could have widespread locally severe gales for a time. In the short term, we've got some rain in the forecast during tonight and at first tomorrow morning, courtesy of that little weather system. Just look how many isobars we've got on Friday morning, widespread gales, and then a lot of uncertainty over the weekend, some rain Friday night at the moment. It looks like that will move away Saturday morning, leaving the weekend not looking too bad. Certainly some sunshine, and it should become mostly fine and bright, but a lot of uncertainty for the weekend forecast. Now, that's the cold front that spoilt the sunshine that we're all enjoying this morning, once that fog cleared, of course. Through this evening then, it's fine with clear spells, and then we'll see that Atlantic weather system bringing rain and drizzle in from the west. Some mistiness over the hills, and we'll see temperatures around 4 or 5 degrees. Tomorrow's high water times then in Scarborough at 12 minutes past 12. So a dreary start in the morning, cloudy with occasional rain and drizzle. That will quickly become confined to the Pennines for most parts and away from the hills, although we'll keep a lot of cloud. There should be some bright or sunny intervals. Now remember, the average for mid-February is 7 or 8, so we're way above again. 12 degrees Celsius in Doncaster is 54 Fahrenheit. Very windy on Friday, some patchy rain in the west. Saturday morning, perhaps a wet start, but then it brightens up for the rest of the weekend. And that's the accurate forecast tonight, Phil.
A lot of uncertainty. That means he's not really sure. I think that's fair to say, isn't it?
Move on.
That's as far as we go. We'll be back at 10:30. We'll see you then. Good night.